Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I'm a nerd, and I've had 4 cups of coffee so far today, but that's good because we're talking about what's new in version 17, and I have to cover in 30 to 40 minutes what we covered in 2 virtual user group meetings on Monday. So let's go. We'll skip right by the welcome. We will begin shortly. We'll go right into the preamble where we talk about your GoToWebinar control panel. Hold on a second.
I have a raised hand, Paul.
Just one raised hand?
I have one raised hand.
Who is it?
Cynthia.
Does she know why her hand is raised?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to unmute Cynthia, and maybe she'll tell us.
Cynthia, are you there? Can you hear us? Well, maybe she can hear us and she just can't talk. Are you there, Cynthia? Well, let's go ahead and mute Cynthia back up. She may have accidentally had her hand raised, and now she's like, oh, they're talking to me. I would tell you the quick story about the first time I ever went into an AOL room and realized people knew I was there and panicked. But I can't do that because I've had 4 cups of coffee and I need to talk about Tabs3 and PracticeMaster and the changes that are coming in version 17. But first, this is the GoToMeeting control panel. And perhaps Cynthia didn't know that if she is feeling like she wants to ask a question and she is feeling not shy, she can press this button here and it'll raise her hand. Maybe she pressed this button and said, I wonder what this button would do if I pressed it. And so we have put Cynthia's hand back down. Cynthia, if you really want to talk, go ahead and raise your hand again. Pressing this button causes Leanne to interrupt me, as she just did, and say, I have someone with their hand raised. If you instead are feeling shy, you can type your questions here. Don't forget to hit send. If you have this part showing, clicking this button with the arrows pointing to the right will cause it to go away, but these buttons will still be showing. This will turn into a button with arrows pointing to the left, and clicking it again will cause this to come back into focus so you can type a question here because you're shy. Unlike Cynthia, who raised her hand without even knowing what the button meant. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on Cynthia. I don't even know who she is. I don't know her last name. Don't tell me, Leanne. We don't want to get her in trouble. But that's how the GoToMeeting control panel works, and I am therefore going to close this thing down and get out of here, and we are going to talk about version 17. Now, I do have to give a slight disclaimer here. I got in a little bit of trouble because I didn't pay quite as much attention as I should have when we sent out the webinar announcements that went out on Monday. Those announcements are written 2 months in advance when we decide what the webinar is going to be, and then it pretty much goes out of my focus until right now. And so we wrote language that said, software technology has released version 17 of Tabs3 and PracticeMaster. That is not true. We're hoping that they will release it for new sales before the end of the year, but we don't know that. They may be listening. And we're hoping that if they do release it for new sales this year yet, that they will announce it to our any current customers that it's available for download after the first of the year. Now, if they release it for new sales this year, which we are anticipating that they will, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, then people who already have the software and are on maintenance will be able to get it before it's announced to everyone else, but you would have to ask nicely. So if you want version 17 before STI sends you the email saying that it's available for download, send me an email. There will be an email address at the end, so you don't need to write this down unless you're not planning on staying. Well, actually, for you live people, we don't put the email address up. It's just when we produce the recorded version that the email address goes up. So I'll tell you, it's paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. Got that? Paul.purdue, like the school, not the chicken. And for those of you who aren't familiar, that's P-U-R-D-U-E, paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. Now, you'll also be getting an email from Patty telling you when the recorded version is available. And in that email, you can simply reply to that email, and Patty will help me to understand that you want the pre-release version of version 17. In that email, we will be including this document here, so you don't have to worry about taking copious notes about what's in this document. I will be sending a copy of it with the email that goes out. So without further ado, this is what's in version 17.1. Now, keep in mind, I'm going very, very quickly. I am touching on what's there. I want people to understand what's there. I want them to ask questions about what's there, but I am not going to go into a great deal of detail. We will dissect this release over the next several months in our virtual user group meetings, in our webinars, which is what you're attending right now. So there will be plenty of opportunity. There may even be some published content. We, of course, have the Paul and Mary Jo show, and Mary Jo has her e-bites. We've already planned some e-bites, some very short snippets of certain things that are new in version 17. I think we actually recorded some the other day, so they'll be coming out over the next couple months. The Paul and Mary Jo show, I know that I recorded one the other day about quick views, so that'll be coming out. So there will be a whole host of content on our website about version 17 and what's in it. And there will be live events like the virtual user group meetings and webinars also. So don't worry if you don't get a full in-depth explanation of everything. You're not going to here. And of course, you're always welcome to call me and set up a time when I can show you personally in-depth any of the things that you're seeing here. So without further ado, the biggest and neatest change is document management in PracticeMaster. Now there's some neat changes in tabs too, but one of the most significant things that they have done is they have rewritten document management. So much so that I have several clients that were considering World Docs that are now considering instead just using PracticeMaster for document management. For instance, they've set up a naming convention and the ability to define that naming convention. If we go into PracticeMaster and go into the place where we would see this, we can automatically have PracticeMaster name our documents and put them in the appropriate folder when they are saved. So what that means is anyone who's tried document management so far knows, and I'm going to close World Docs real quick so it doesn't get in my way, knows that when I type a document in Word and go to save it using the button bar, the first thing it wants us to do is put it away. And if you have set up the automatic, or someone has set up, and by the way, this is something that we are going to cover in 2 months in this very forum in the webinar, specifically a dissection of the entire document management section. But bottom line, if you set it up right with the automatic naming convention, then you won't see this. You will merely see, and I'm going to temporarily put this away right here, called that. You will merely see the next screen where you specify, well, okay, I should have tested to make sure that was going to work. I didn't think I'd go that far, and I shouldn't have. You will see the next screen where you specify the document name, the document type, whatever fields you want to store in your PracticeMaster record for this particular document. So with this automatic naming convention in place, as they talk about here, PracticeMaster will name and put away your documents in matter and client-specific folders that you define with a name that puts together the fields that you define on the client, the document profile screen, the document record screen, so that you don't need to put the document away as part of the saving process. It will do that for you. That's huge. It's one of the biggest things people have been asking for, and it is in version 17 in document management. Another thing that's huge is how do we get all those documents in that were already in our system? Now we're going to pretend this is a matter folder for a certain matter, and we want to get it into PracticeMaster. Now the first thing we'll do is show you my favorite picture in the world, the crossed arms. Enough of that. We're going to take this and right-click and choose Send to PracticeMaster, which is another new feature. And what this does is it takes that document and lets you save it as a new document into PracticeMaster for a specific matter. Bam. Couldn't do that before. But what if I want all, what if I want all of these documents in PracticeMaster? Well, all you do is choose them all, choose Send to PracticeMaster, and a different window comes up that lets you define exactly how you want to import these in. Now, you probably wouldn't import them all in if you were going to break them down by document type. You might select all the pleadings and import all the pleadings, choose document type, select pleadings or whatever document type you're importing, import those 72 documents, and then go on and import the rest of the documents. But the bottom line is we now have the ability to take a whole group of documents from the matter-specific folders and pull them into PracticeMaster very quickly. If you didn't hear that, I snapped my fingers. Now I can't snap my fingers. I've always had trouble snapping my fingers, but very, very quickly. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on. Leanne's over here. She hadn't given me the signal yet, but she's been instructed to give me the signal if I drone on, because I tend to drone on, even when I've had 4 cups of coffee. You can now check documents in and out. Wasn't there before. Huge feature, something that's in World Docs that is a reason that people will sometimes go to World Docs instead of PracticeMaster. What that means is you can check a document out. PracticeMaster still has it stored there. You have it now on your USB drive or wherever. You take it home, you work on it. If somebody tries to call it up while you're out, they get a message that Paul's got it checked out. Would you like to look at a read-only copy? Yes, no, bam. When it comes back in, it is checked back in, and then it is available for anybody to edit. Huge feature, wasn't there before. Revisions. I'm going to click here. You now have the ability to store different revisions of a document. So here for different versions of a document. Couldn't do that before. Now you can. It's supported in version 17. We have a question?
Well, I have a comment from Hazel. She has a suggestion for getting all the documents into PracticeMaster.
Okay, well, we're not working on that right now. We're really just trying to get as quickly as we can through this.
Okay.
So, thank you, Hazel, but we may talk about that at our document management specific webinar that we're giving in 2 months. Quick views, new feature. Okay, quick views. These are huge. At first I thought, okay, that's kind of nice. I like that. But, what are they? I clicked the wrong thing. Hold on, I'm sorry. Having a little trouble navigating. I'm trying to get it to where you can see what's here because they have some very good examples here. Okay, I'm going to try and make that a little bit bigger without obliterating everything else. There we go. Quick views. These are your ability to create these little tabs. This is the client file, or this is a sample of the client file. Here's the list view. Here's the list view, and under it we see these other things called quick views that let us say, oh, well, let's just look at this attorney subdivided by AOP, or let's look at all of the active matters subdivided by timekeeper. These are what's called quick views. These are what's called smart tabs. We've always had the ability to filter data so that you could say, show me all of my active matters. But you had to write filters, and then if you wanted the layout of the fields to be a certain way, or you wanted the sort order to be a certain way, you had to know over here in Quick Clicks to click this for the filter, and this for the sort order, and this for the column layout. Quick views kind of take that all together, create something that automatically defines what you're looking at, what order you're looking at it in, and what fields you're seeing, and puts it right out there on the list tab so that you can just click this or click that. I would do it, but I'm looking at a screenshot, not at the program. And then these things called smart tabs let you take a quick view, like this one that specifically shows you MLJ, that must be a timekeeper, obviously, and then subdivide them down here by something else. In this example, by area of practice. Very, very cool. I have them, for instance, in PracticeMaster so that we can look at all of you guys and tell which people have projects. These are our clients that we currently have open tickets for. Or look at just our clients, because we keep prospects and people that don't have our software yet in here. But this is a list of just our clients, and this one happens to be subdivided by state for the quick views. So I could click on North Carolina and talk about how excited I am that I may be going to Asheville, or I could click on Illinois and look at all of our clients in Illinois. Those are quick views. And Leanne still hasn't given me that signal, although she probably should because I'm droning on, aren't I, Leanne? You don't have to answer that. Record count. This is huge too, okay? Let's say that we're looking at something, And let's say we're looking at how many clients we have, clients subdivided by state, and we've clicked on Illinois. These are all clients in Illinois. How many are there? I swear to God, I used to do this all the time. I would count how many there were. I would tab down, screen at a time, and then I would do the math. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Click on a record and then click Control-A or however you want to mark all the records, and bam, we have 275 clients in Illinois. Wow. Didn't know we had that many clients in Illinois. How many do we have in Indiana? Huh. Illinois is bigger than Indiana, although we only go to Chicago. That's huge. Keep in mind, let's say you're looking at a quick view that shows you all the active matters by timekeeper, by primary timekeeper. So Bob, the attorney, could click on that, click on his initials, highlight everything, and it'd tell him right down here how many active matters he has. Very, very cool. I know, I keep saying very, very cool. I do think some of these things are really neat. Okay, search. This is the new search box that's in PracticeMaster. Search used to be a matter of clicking on a field like name search and then typing and going to that. But the problem with that is I am now sorted by name search. What if I was already sorted by city, which I was? Let me click back into this quick view of Indiana, and you'll see that I was sorted by, okay, maybe I wasn't there. Maybe it's here that I'm sorted by, well, maybe, actually, maybe I have to click off the quick view. This is new to me, too. Let me go here and back here, and now to Indiana, and now I am sorted by city, okay, which is how I want it to be. If I want to search by name and I click this, I am all of a sudden not sorting by city. But let's say I want to find a certain client for which I would use name search. Well, now I have this new search box where I can go and type the name search, and it finds them. Okay? Now, let me show you. I'm going to go back to client over here so we have some people to look at. Let me just show you how this works. I can take any of these fields, select which ones I want to appear in my search box. These ones that are checked are the ones that are currently appearing. And once I've done that, I can specify any of these things in any multitude. So I could say I want to search for maybe city equals Indianapolis and miscellaneous description contains something. And beyond that, there's a history button that shows all the searches I've ever made in kind of a raw form, kind of an alpha form, and I can go back to them. So if I was looking for Purdue, I'm not going to find it because it's not in here. Well, I am. Yeah, because I'm back into, we see Paul Purdue and we see Purdue Law Offices. Huge, huge, huge. Very excited about this stuff. Alarms. You want to see excited. Get me talking about alarms. Many of you know that I am addicted to tasks. I manage tasks. Some say more than I should. My whole life revolves around tasks. We won't mention that I have a task every day that tells me to feed my fish. We won't mention that all my fish are dead. Those two don't have any correlation, I promise. I'm very task-oriented. I use tasks for everything. If I send you an email and say, let me know whether or not it was green or blue, usually a task will be created to say, did you hear from Bob, to find out whether it was green or blue. I use tasks all the time. Now, the problem with tasks is that they used to come up in a separate window. So if you had 3 alarms go off at once, you got 3 separate windows. Now you get this combined window here, and I'm going to zoom out because I've obviously gotten a little too excited and zoomed in too much. Oops, yeah, and I'm still zooming in too much. I really shouldn't drink more than 2 cups of coffee, but we won't go there. Now you get something that shows you all of your active alarms. So let's say, for instance, that we need to know that, and I'll tell you that Spencer is having a little bit of trouble. Okay? If we go to my task list, we'll find out that I'm supposed to be emailing 2 of his teachers today. Oops, not that one. That one. So let's put an alarm on this. Let's say we want it to trigger at 11:15, and we also want this one to trigger at 11:15. No, and I don't think I turned the alarm on. Hold on. 11:15, 0 minutes, and 11:15, yes, and I get them in, Outlook as well. 11:15, 0 minutes, bam, there it is. Now we'll get rid of this and we'll ignore the Outlook one. I have them going to my phone as well. Here it is. Okay, what am I going to do? First off, we've got a coffee pot webinar. Guess what? I'm there. How appropriate, Leanne, it's called the coffee pot webinar, and I've had 4 cups of coffee today. We're going to clear that alarm. Bam, there it goes. These two, I'm not going to obviously call Spencer's 2 teachers until we're done with this webinar. So I'm going to group both of them together, and I'm going to snooze them for an hour. How cool is that? It used to be that everyone had their own box, everyone had their own window that you had to deal with individually, and it was a nightmare for somebody like me. And hopefully there are other anal retentive people out there that feel my pain. We're going to go here, we're going to fit to width again, and we're going to go on talking. Another thing is that the snooze increments now make sense. So let's just pull up one of these items. You may have noticed that the alarm is now in something that makes sense. Anybody ever used these before? What were they in before? Anybody? Minutes. Minutes. And there was no drop down. So the alarm was a minutes thing. So if you wanted to snooze something for an hour, you had to put in 60, which is cool. But what if you want to snooze it for a day? I happen to know that's 1440. What if you wanted to snooze it for 2 days? I happen to know that's 2880. What if you wanted to snooze it, if I have too much coffee, snooze it for 2 weeks? Couldn't do it. Only went up to 9,999 minutes. This is huge. This is much better. What does this come from? Outlook. These are the same snooze increments that Outlook supports. What if you've got an appointment? Well, I'll show you. I'm supposed to talk to someone this afternoon at 4. I want to be reminded 30 minutes ahead of time. But now, and I'm sorry, this is a snooze thing. Let's say that we want to be reminded of this 1 day ahead of time, and then I'll pull up the alarm that will pop up. So now here it is. These are new too. I didn't think these were too significant either until I started using them. Now I snooze everything for 10 minutes before, and when it comes up, you know what it defaults to as a snooze? 5 minutes before. And when that comes up, you know what it defaults to as a snooze? 1 minute before. Very cool. I used to manage my snoozing. Now my snoozing manages me. I don't think that sounded quite right, but we're not going to go with it. We're not going to go with that. Okay. Calendar. A new combined alarm time field offers the following features. Oh yeah, you could just type tomorrow at 3 p.m. or next week or Monday, or you could type 1 day, or you could type 3 hours, 3.5 hours. And watch what happens if I type 3.5 hours. And I'm actually going to put in 0.5 hours because I need to set this back to where it belongs. It translates it to what it wants. How cool is that? I know. Very cool, Paul. It's very cool. Document search has been enhanced. With document management being enhanced, it's an obvious given that document search is going to be enhanced. So if we go there, I'll just show you that document search used to be for searching for something and how you match. Now you can specify the file name. Now you can specify a date range and which clients to search and what document types to search and what users to search. Much like World Docs. Okay. I hope Ray's not listening. World Docs enhancements. Okay, for those people that have World Docs, and there will still be people that will buy World Docs to go with PracticeMaster. Don't get me wrong. There's still certain things that World Docs offers that PracticeMaster doesn't. A couple things that have been enhanced in World Docs. I'm not going to even go into much detail, but you can now set up World Docs integration for multiple profile groups, and you can set up how the fields interact for each profile group. It used to be that we only supported the link between Client Matter and PracticeMaster, but you might have certain things that need to be going into a different profile group for whatever reason. The other thing that's new in World Docs is the ability to have a button bar in World Docs. Now, in order to show this to you, I'm going to load World Docs back up. I know that's not it. That's the indexer. For those of you who don't have World Docs, that's Greek, I understand, but here comes World Docs. So if you have World Docs and you have PracticeMaster, we now have the ability to, come on. Another thing about drinking 4 cups of coffee is you become very, very impatient, especially with a computer, because computers become so slow after you've had 4 cups of coffee. World Docs, go to My Favorites, highlight a file, and we now have this. We can now create a calendar record, a fee record. We can bill for a document from World Docs. A journal record, we can actually take a document and journal it back into PracticeMaster, although if you have World Docs, I don't know why you'd do that. Or you can open the Matter Manager. So if I find something that relates to Warren and Young, and I click here and go to Open Matter Manager, it takes me right into PracticeMaster, or at least it should. I should have tested this first, but I think it'll work, with the Matter Manager open for PracticeMaster. Now, of course, it would work. Don't get me wrong. I just have 8 different copies of PracticeMaster loaded on this machine and 3 different copies of World Docs for all sorts of different purposes. So right from World Docs, I clicked on a document for a certain client, clicked on PracticeMaster and go to Matter Manager, and here I am in the Matter Manager for that client. How cool is that? Very cool, Paul. Yes, thank you. Okay. What else are we talking about? We now support toolbars. We've always had them in WordPerfect and Word and Excel and Adobe, Hot Docs, Internet Explorer. Outlook, that's the one where you can profile emails directly into PracticeMaster. Always been there. But now we have PowerPoint. We just showed you World Docs, and Windows Explorer, which I showed you just a minute ago, where you can now take any file from anywhere and send it to PracticeMaster. Very cool. New configuration window for Outlook plugin. It used to be that if you were doing your emails and having them go to PracticeMaster, that you would turn off or turn on whether or not that was happening here, and then that would stick for every other email. Well, the problem was the users would screw that up. They'd turn it off accidentally, and that would stay off. So now in Outlook, if we go into Options and look at add-ins and click on PracticeMaster and go to add-in options, this is now where that is turned on. And we have some additional functionality that allows us to move items after they're journaled to PracticeMaster to other places, so that you know immediately that they've been journaled and you don't have to worry about journaling them again because they actually disappear from the folder they were in. Journal file, oh, this is huge. Look at this. We're going to pull up a client that's had an email journaled very quickly. Let me get out of this. I'm sorry, I'm anal retentive. I have to have just the right windows open. And we're going to go here, and we're going to look at this email. And so there's an email that was journaled to PracticeMaster. Watch this. No, that's not it. View email in Outlook. Come on. Oh, didn't come up. There it is, though. Wow. We took a journal record in PracticeMaster, an email record that was journaled and became a journal record, and turned it back into an email. Couldn't do that before. Can now. How cool is that? Okay. These things that say coming soon, this is an old copy of the what's new. They're there. Custom record lists in the Matter Manager. The Matter Manager is very cool. We just showed it to you. We pulled up a client on it. Let's see who's there now. Yeah, they're still there. And then this All Activity view right here, All Activity, come on. You see everything. You see emails, you see the calendar items, you see fees, you see everything. Some people said, oh, that is really cool, but I don't want to see the fees, or I don't want to see the costs, or I don't want to see this one thing, but I want to see the other things. Now, you can still look at all those things separately. Here's costs. I don't think they have any. Here's journal. Here's fees. But then, no, that's not what we want. We want the all-activity type view where they're all lumped together in a chronological order, but I don't want to see the fees. Okay, here's the new functionality. You can create special ones down here that just show what you want. That's just phone and email. It doesn't have anything in it. That wasn't too exciting. Documents and email. I don't think email is going to be in here. Let's do test. Test must be leaving fees or something out. But the bottom line is you can now create custom lists here. And I think I can show you real quick, custom activity list that includes any of these things in any combination. Very, very cool. What else do we got? Find and replace. I've been there for a while, maybe since 16, maybe since 15. I'm trying to remember. I think it came in 16. We can find and replace. So we could say here in this list of emails, or in this list of calendar items, or in this list of clients, we want to find everybody that has a certain thing in one field and replace it with another. Maybe primary timekeeper 17 should be changed to primary timekeeper 18 because primary timekeeper 17 left the firm. You can now, in find and replace, search for nothing. Empty fields can now be replaced with something. That couldn't be done before. It can now. And workflows, most people won't understand this, but workflows now have the ability to look at virtual fields and to punch through or look up from the underlying file. Not going to go into detail there. We'll talk about it later for those who attend a webinar where we get into that subject. Tabs, split fee billing has been modified. You can now show either, let me zero in on this just a little bit. Oh, going the wrong way. Got to set it back to zoom in. We can now show either hours, we can split either hours or amount. In the past in split fee billing, we only split amount. So in the past, if you had an hour that was being split two ways in one fee transaction, and it totaled $200, it would create something that totaled $100. But now you can also split the hours, but not the amount, meaning that if this client has an hourly rate of $300 an hour and this other client has an hourly rate of $200 an hour, and they're both split in this matter, the hours will be split, so this client will get a fee entry of a half an hour that totals $150, while the other one will get the other half of that fee entry, the other half an hour, but it will total $100. A lot of other new things here. You can also do the same thing for costs. You can split by units rather than hour. There is now the ability to show the client the bill before the split, or in other words, a bill that includes both the amount before the split and then what their share is. And you can do that in a number of different ways. This, for instance, is the one that breaks it down by, well, actually, I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. It would say, you know, your share is this much, their share is that much of both expenses and advance. Oh, yeah, it is. Here it is. And they just call it professional instead of fees. So here what it's saying is that this person is paying this much in fees and that much in fees, and that's the total, and this is how everything else broke down. Other things in split fee billing, undo. You can now undo a split. You couldn't do it before. So let's say you had a client, two clients that were sharing a matter, or the expenses for a matter and fees for a matter. You would accumulate your time. You would get to the end of the month. You'd hope that the attorneys reviewed the combined statement well and made their changes, and they told you they had, and you split it, and then they come back and they say, oh, no, we need to make all these other changes. In the old version, you would then have to go make those changes individually to each of the resulting splits. In the new version, you undo the split, make your changes to the original entries, and then simply resplit it. Very, very cool. Generate statements. You can now specify an email template when running final bills. Those of you who are emailing bills, you know that you can set up a client to get the bill with a certain email template. That's how the email is formatted, not how the bill is formatted, how the email is formatted. Now you can kind of override that on a batch of final bills so that you can reminders that have different language for the email than what you normally would send out, or for any other number of reasons that you might want to change the email template when you're running a bill. There is no longer month-end or year-end close in General Ledger. Gone, out of here. Because of that, you can now lock down your journal entry date restrictions to within a certain number of days from the current date. And you can also pick a date at which, and that you would change as you move through your year, at which the books are closed and nobody but somebody with the exact permissions can do anything to any of those journal entries. So no longer do you need to do a month-end, year-end, and now you can lock down on a date-by-date basis. You know, you could block it as of the middle of the month if that's what you wanted to do. No longer have to archive clients to retain information. We don't get rid of journal entries anymore when you close the year because, well, mainly because you don't close the year. Those of you who use General Ledger know that when you close the year in past, prior to version 17, the 3-year-old journal entries disappear. They don't anymore. You could have your journal entries go on forever. But now we also have the ability to get them out of there if you say, well, after 8 years I want them gone, or after 10 years I want them gone. You can now reconcile credit card accounts. We always could, but you had to set them up as a bank account, which was kind of silly. So now you can set something up as a credit card account and have it reconcile also. The changes to the chart of accounts I'm not going to go into too much, but they're huge. The way you look at and modify your chart of accounts, if you've ever tried to modify the chart by adding an account to your General Ledger chart of accounts, you know that you have to get in just the right place between the right headers and the right totals. Now if you can't put in a total account without putting in the corresponding header account. Now you can't put in a header account without putting in the corresponding total account. If you want to move something around, you drag it to where it goes. It will tell you if you have a problem with your header and total accounts and let you fix it. No longer is it a matter of getting the right sort sequence to make this all work. I'm not going to go into why that was a pain before, because if you've experienced it, you know, and if you haven't, you probably don't care. We now have the ability in General Ledger to see some really neat stuff right on the chart. So you can pull up an account in the chart and still see the balances and the budget like you did before, but now you also have the ability to see account information that you didn't see before, and even to see journal entries. Here's the journal entries part. So you can pull up an account and then say, well, I want to see the journal entries for a certain date range for that account. And without having to go to the journal entry screen, you can just see them right from the chart of accounts. Budgets can now be defined and maintained for multiple years, and you can define a budget for next year without closing the current year first. That was something people that were doing budgeting asked for a lot. Journal entries. It is now impossible. It is now impossible to not have a balanced journal entry. Now, I am issuing this challenge because I know that somebody somewhere is working on ways to show me wrong. And one of our clients will probably prove that if you do just the right thing in just the right order, maybe you can get a journal entry out of balance. But now with the new journal entry screen, you cannot save an unbalanced journal entry. It forces you to finish whatever remains to be balanced. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Again, we'll show this later, but they pretty much fixed this in, I want to say version 15, but you could still pull one up and manage to get it out of balance if you went in and edited it. It was, I think, impossible to do it when you were adding it after version 15, but it became still possible to do it while editing. That is no longer true. You cannot get a journal entry out of balance. Reporting is no longer tied to just 2 years because your journal entries don't disappear. Recurring entries, now you can select which recurring entries you're going to post. And those of you who ever used recurring entries in General Ledger where you can say, well, we have these 8 things that come out of our bank account every month, so we're going to create recurring entries for them. They're electronic. You know, the rent comes out automatically. These other 7 things come out. In the past, you had to post them all at once, even though they didn't happen all at once. Some may come out mid-month, some may come out beginning of month, some may come out toward the end of the month. Now you choose what you're posting, and you only post what you want at the right time. They renamed import journal entries. It used to be called post ASCII data. Okay, what does that mean? Well, apparently it means import journal entries. So if you ever looked at post ASCII data in your GL program and said, what does that mean? Now you know. They also renamed the PenSoft payroll data routine and changed a few things. If you are integrating, and this is also true for journal, if you are integrating with PenSoft or importing journal entries, which is how some people pull their payroll data in that maybe comes from ADP or Paychex or some other processor, it will now look at the entire batch and tell you ahead of time if there were errors and not import it. What it used to do was import it, and then when it found the error, it would stop, and so you've got this half-imported journal entry in there. That can't happen anymore. So that's just another way they've kept it from, A, from being a pain, but B, from creating unbalanced journal entries. They will now automatically notify you of updates, and you can actually install them from the program if you have manager rights. It used to be that that you had to go check for updates. Now you're told. You're told automatically when it's a critical update, and you now have a check for updates feature that doesn't just take you to a place where you have to look and compare dates. It just looks and says, yeah, there's a new update, or no, there's not. We've increased some limits in PracticeMaster. Receipt allocation by invoice used to default a long time ago to not being on, and this created problems for firms, because it should always be on. Don't ask me why. It should. It has to do with how the system, and I don't know why anybody would ever want it off. Hazel's probably sitting there going, I know a way or a reason, but and we probably have a couple clients that do want it off, but most people want it on. So if you had the software a long time ago when it didn't default to being checked for every new matter, you may still have matters that are being opened up without it checked on. And so they changed the setting so that when you tell it to be on, it is always on for every new matter that's open for any client. They've increased or enhanced some of the functionality and help. I'm not going to go into a great bit of detail there. It's not that exciting. I hope Deb's not listening. Deb is the documentation, the head of the documentation department at SDI. She thinks that help is much more interesting than I do, although I am a big proponent of help, don't get me wrong. They have a great help system within PracticeMaster and Tabs, and it's got a lot of useful information in it. Some things were discontinued. PracticeMaster Briefcase, I think 13 people used it. 2 of them were my clients. One of them was a client that I shared with Hazel, who we keep talking about, and I told him, don't upgrade to 17 because it's gone. The briefcase is gone. I got another client in Puerto Rico that has really bad internet access. The briefcase is an old thing from when we didn't have the internet and couldn't connect to our computer from home. So you could take a matter home on your laptop and kind of check it out. Yeah, Leanne now is giving me that, keep going, Paul, you're boring everybody. QuickBooks integration is now only available in Tabs. It is no longer available in PracticeMaster. Don't ask me why it would ever have been in PracticeMaster. I don't know what QuickBooks integration would have to do with PracticeMaster without also being involved with Tabs, but the PracticeMaster to QuickBooks integration is gone. Some of the recovery software has been eliminated because now everybody should be using the TB device program. And that's kind of what this says, too. This is just another type of recovery software. And that is the end, and I did it in 44 minutes, maybe a little longer than I was supposed to go. But it's Leanne's fault because she didn't give me the signal when I droned on and on. Leanne, do you have questions?
No questions, Paul.
Really? Awesome. Okay. Paul.Purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. Systems is plural. Purdue is like the school, not the chicken. And for those of you who aren't Big Ten football fans, or I guess I'm showing my ignorance because maybe they're not in the Big Ten. I don't know. If you're not football fans and don't know how to spell Purdue, it's P-U-R-D-U-E. Everybody have a good rest of the month, a wonderful holiday. For some of you, we will talk to you next year. For some of you, you'll be at our virtual user group meetings on Monday, where we'll talk a little bit more about some of these enhancements and certain other things that have happened at STI. Our next webinar is on trust accounting and how to use it and why you should use it instead of client funds, which is built into Tabs. And 2 months out, our webinar will be on document management in version 17, all those exciting changes that I hinted at the top of the session. Everybody have a good day. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Bye.